Damen und Herren, ich entschuldige mich, dass ich kein Deutsch spreche. But I'm very honored and pleased to be here with so many liberal friends, and it's the biggest birthday party I ever had. Secondly, I have to say that it's nearly impossible to speak after the brilliant speech of Christian Lindner. What a speech, what an energy, what a positive attitude. We really envy him. I want to come here to speak about one of the biggest challenges of our society, how to make success of a growing diversity in our cities. There are a lot of new people arriving in our countries, but in our cities, there live even more people who are born here, often the second and the third generation. They make our towns ethnically, culturally, religiously more diverse and, let's be honest, also more complex. But it is the reality of the 21st century, it's the reality of today, and it's the reality that will stay here. So, liberals can make a difference, because when others only complain and talk about the problems, we liberals are working on solutions. That is what liberals always do, working on solutions. Today, populists want us to believe that diversity is doomed to fail, that it's linked to decline, loss, like the French soumission. Their narrative is about fear, about a lost past, about we and them, about polarization, and about hate. Let me tell you another story. The story of my city, Mechelen, 90,000 inhabitants, part of a bigger agglomeration, Brussels, Antwerp, 2.5 million. Let me tell you this story because it's a story of hope, it's a liberal story, and it's a story of success. Maybe you don't know my city, but you recognize certainly the story of my town, because it's a story that is so similar to so many cities also in Germany. In one generation, we changed from monocultural to super diverse. 130 nationalities, 1 out of 2 kids born in Mechelen has a foreign background, 20% people are Muslims. And 15 years ago, we were a city in despair. Highest criminality rate, high poverty rate, 1 out of 3 shops closed, middle class left, dirty streets, polarization, fear. Extreme right political party gained 32%. And now, only 15 years later, we are the reference city in Flanders. Cleanest city, highest trust in local government, criminality went down with 60%, average incomes grows faster than in the rest of the country, people are back proud to being citizen of Mechelen. How did we do it? With innovation. We left the solutions of the old left and the old right behind us. They don't work. It's a dead-end street. We created a new policy based on the central concept of every liberal society. Our belief in liberty, in freedom, and the protection of that freedom against its enemies. First, we made our city safe again. You know, fighting criminality is fighting for freedom. People who have to be afraid to come on the street, who live in neighborhoods where the rule of the jungle prevails above the rule of law, people who raise their kids in streets where drug dealers and criminals are in charge and police is seen as the enemy. Well, for such people, liberty is in danger. Liberty is not a reality. So, by making our city safer, we regained trust of people so that they didn't have to look for extreme alternatives and that they stopped blaming the others. With safe streets and clean streets, we closed literally the door for populists, and we opened possibilities for people to become mentally more open for diversity. We fought criminality, but we did it on a liberal and not on a populist way. Liberals don't use the fight against crime to divide people, but to unite them in a common cause. Liberals don't use it as a weapon to stigmatize, but to mobilize. And we don't believe, as the old left, that only prevention works, but we also don't believe, like the old right, that only repression works. We need social workers and policemen to create safe cities. And above all, liberals know and understand that fighting crime is a social cause. First, victims in cities of criminality live in poorer neighborhoods. So a good fight against criminality is a good social policy. Secondly, we fought communitarian thinking, group thinking. For liberals, a city is a city of citizens and not of communities. Liberals do not put peoples in a box, reduce them to one identity, and then make from that identity a caricature. Old left politicians and old right politicians are both obsessed by group thinking. Their policy is based on it. Old left sees only discrimination and wants to pamper people. And old right only uses it to stigmatize and criminalize people. We liberals know that every human person is unique, that we all have different identities, and that we don't want to put people in boxes. Our third struggle is a struggle against ghettos and segregation. People who live in ghettos are not free. Therefore, we invested in living together, in building bridges and not walls, with mixed schools, mixed sport clubs, mixed neighborhoods. And in those mixed neighborhoods where middle class comes back, those middle class citizens are unpaid social workers. They create new social bonds. They come up for the neighborhood. They motivate people. They inspire people. They create upwards social mobility. The fourth thing we did was protecting freedom by standing for our values. We may never give in on the equality of men and women, the rule of law, democracy, the freedom of speech. But the fifth thing we also did was protecting our freedom also to those who make from every tradition and every habit a fundamental value. Because if you do that, if you say that every change in your society is a threat, is soumission, you don't defend, but you kill freedom. Because our society is built on the concept of freedom, and freedom means change. We may not be afraid of change. Imagine, dear liberal friends, that 50 years ago we had said the same thing, that we cannot change something of our society. What would have we done with women who stood up against traditions and habits, to have an equal place in society, to fight for their emancipation? We always do that. We always see groups who stand up on the basis of our fundamental values to change habits and traditions. And we have, as liberals, have to defend that principle of an open society that can change. And my last point, and a very important one for liberals, that is, we have to defend our liberal promise, the strength of a liberal society. What is the core of our conviction? We want to have a society where people, if they work hard, if they do their best, if they use their talents, they can create a better future for themselves. In a liberal society, you can be born in a poor family. You can have a migrant background, but you need to have the same equal chances and opportunities as everybody else. What is the biggest threat for a liberal promise? Something very irrational: racism and discrimination. It destroys liberalism. It destroys our promise, and therefore liberals should be in the front line fighting every form of racism and discrimination. It's our duty to do that. Dear friends, I hope, that's my biggest dream as a politician, that my small city can be a little beacon of hope in times of populism and polarization. It's hard work, but with a liberal approach it can work. You know, we liberals all around the world, and also here in Germany, you carry the hope of a better society, because we agree with Lincoln, who said, we don't have to fear anything but fear itself. Our society can only be free if we are not afraid of the future, if we see opportunities and possibilities, and liberals do it every day again. And we do it because we liberals believe in the strength of our liberal principles. We do it because we believe in the strength of people, and we do it because we believe in freedom. I thank you.